Hey everybody, this is Peter Palmiotti of Unite Studio, and welcome to the latest Studio Synergy episode. I think it's 61. We're getting up there. Um, before I introduce the people here, I just want to cover a couple of things. Number one is I'm more than likely not going to be YouTubing until Monday because I need a break. I've been running since January 1st, pretty much every day doing something. And I need to catch up on sleep. Right now, I got a deadline with my D100 anthology project. So as it is, I'll be up all night working on that. I was even considering just turning off the camera and working on that, but I need to focus. So I'm going to do this hangout and then work on it afterwards. And yesterday, I had some wonderful guests, John Boy Myers, who brought up the subject of digital. Just to cover that kind of really quickly, the title right now is Why Peter Palmiotti Should Go Digital, which is just tongue in cheek. I'll probably change it afterwards, just covering what we mostly talk about this episode. But, I have thought about going digital and was planning to at least do something digitally when I get, that kind of equipment that I need. If you want to see me go digital quicker, posted in my links below the video. You could become my patron, and the money goes to I made improvements to my lighting, got a updated camera with a stand and all that through my pledges there. Or you can do the direct route, and I have a paypal.me/Peter Palmiotti link. And you can throw in any amount, even like 25 cents or, $50,000, whatever you got in your pocket. And hell, if you throw me $50,000, I'll go digital tomorrow. Total.
Too.
But I will be doing some sort of digital comics in the future. Right now, what I do plan on doing is like my comic line will be Has Comics. I'm going to throw up my creation retro more than likely next week. I want to say early next week, but I still have to get information processed there. And that will be the beginning of my sort of meta-human line there. I want to do at least, 5 or 6 characters and then have a team book. And I have a bunch of artists that want to work with me. And plans are happening behind the scenes. So if it gets funded, that's awesome. If it goes above and beyond funding, then I'm going to put people on books right away. There's also another artist I have that I want to do sort of a graphic novel with. I had this idea that involved goths that I won't even talk about because it's probably next year. But it's like I just want to do comics and however I can get financed. If I have to work my ass off, which I've been doing to improve my income, I'm willing to do that. Right now, it's like I'm open to inking work. Just message me on Messenger is the easiest way. I recently got another cover. Somebody wants me to pencil and ink. I'm not as tight. It's like I still got a lot to learn as far as penciling, but I'm open to it, and I've done some good work here and there. And I'm doing commissions. Like I sort of mapped this out. It's like 9 by 6, and I've been doing a bunch of commission works that size. So if you want me to pencil and ink your favorite comic book character or movie star or what have you, I'm open to that. So however I can get there, and I already have client work I'm working on, and I've been insanely busy, um, which is a blessing, as they say. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. It's like I definitely need a couple of days off. We got Easter weekend. I'll probably be spending with friends and whatnot. And I just came from a wedding today, which cut into my day, but it was totally worth it. A bunch of friends getting together out in the country doing sort of a hippie country wedding thing, and it was totally adorable. Um, so yeah, here I am, somehow still awake, somehow still going, and I'm joined by Krishna. Hey, Krishna.
Hello.
Hello. So introduce yourself to people. Tell people a little about yourself and where they can find you online.
Sure. So my name is Krishna Sadasivam, and I'm on Instagram as Krishna Draws. And my claim to fame or infamy is making a webcomic for the last 20 years, PC Weenies. And I teach. I work as a professional illustrator, sequential artist. I do a lot of comics for companies. I've worked on comics for Otherworld Computing and Type Mock, and I've done some work for the Smithsonian and Microsoft and a few other companies like that. And got a family, and just spending time balancing everything.
Yeah, balancing everything is oh man. Even me, it's like I don't have a family. I was engaged not too long ago, but now I'm just single. Uh, the most of what I have going on is I have 5 cats, so
Oh wow.
they're a handful. Um, but we also have Ronnie with us. Hey, Ronnie.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
So Ronnie's been here before, not too long ago. But yeah, introduce yourself and let people know where they can find you.
I'm Ronnie Gunter. You could find me on Instagram and Facebook at ronniegunter.art. And you could find me here on YouTube too. Haven't done too much, but plan to do some more.
Awesome. Yeah, I was trying to talk Christian into coming to YouTube before
You
the
need to
show.
do it. You guys are motivating me, so it is part of my plan.
Awesome.
I do want to do it. I might have to
Awesome.
ask you guys for some tips and tricks so that I can make the most of it.
Yeah, the great thing is we like we're in the same circles, and we're so connected to a lot of people who are on YouTube. There's plenty of people willing, if you just hit them up on Facebook or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be willing to help you along the way. And because I remember, like, when I was starting, my first 100 subscribers took forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I barely started my second channel, and I already have 44 subscribers there, and I didn't even have a video up at that point. So there's definitely shortcuts if you learn sort of more of the behind the scenes stuff. And I'll definitely pimp your channel once once you get it going.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we could have you on here again, do a whole thing.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. So Yeah, other than my spiel, I'm like open to whatever you guys want to talk about. I will mention that there will be possibly other people joining us, so we'll take that as it comes also.
So, what would you say is the biggest struggle that you guys have all faced as artists?
You want to go, Ronnie?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Cool.
Well, with me, you know, I'm just now, after working on my first interactive comic book, really branching out into the professional world and just really trying to find my voice, because I am part of the 100 days of making comics challenge, and I'm working on my next 100 days. And with me, you know like I said, just trying to find my voice, because my comic, the last one and this one now, is for a tablet, a phone, where you touch different images and it does sound effects, got voice actors and all that stuff. So really just building a confidence and you know finding my place in the big community and what to offer for it and to show it you know
Mm. I mean, that's pretty exciting because you're kind of like pioneering a kind of a more of an interactive comic.
Yeah, yeah, it's different. It's really fun, but like I said, to some people, it's like it's weird. He's not doing the traditional way where it's just still images and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's it's a challenge, because some days I'm working on the artwork, some days I'm working on trying to find a sound effect or music that might go well with this particular panel of the certain page I'm doing for the comic.
Right.
But it's a fun process, real, like with me, besides doing comics and stuff like that. I'm back in high school and college, I was really big into acting and done a lot of musicals in my day, so really have appreciation for voice acting, any type of acting and music, and just any type of art in general. I really have a passion for, and I admire people who just want to do it for a living and not afraid to show the world, hey, this is who I am.
Hmm. Yeah, it takes guts to put something out there, right?
Mhm.
Just to have your work out there for everyone to take a look at, and you know, you have to kind of like develop that thick skin, and there's always going to be the haters, and that's the kind of arena that an artist puts themselves into.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's like anything entertainment, especially, um, whether it be acting or being an artist or what, doing music or whatever. It's like, there's going to be people that love what you do, and people that might just put themselves out there telling the world how much they hate what you do.
Yeah.
um, luckily, like in my career, I mean, for the most part, I haven't gotten anything negative, so can't really speak on that, other than improve the quality of your videos and all
Mhm.
that.
Well, there's
Um,
a difference between like constructive feedback and your stuff sucks, right? So it's
yeah,
like
yeah, definitely.
that's what as artists we have to kind of recognize the difference between the two, and kind of ignore the feedback that it's not going to help us. Like if someone says, "Hey, the quality of the video needs to be improved," that's like an actionable item, right?
Yeah,
You can go in there and you can actually try to upgrade whatever you need to. But if they just say that it sucks, then it's kind of like, okay, well, you're not telling me exactly what sucks. You're just telling me that it sucks, and there's plenty of channels that you can watch. Why are you watching this? That's what I don't get. Like the people that watch videos with the intent of just like hating it. It's like there are so many
yeah,
videos you can watch on YouTube. Why would you waste time, entering a comment just to say that you don't like something when it may not even be for you?
Yeah,
I don't get that.
it's like the whole if you follow like movies, like especially superhero movies or Star Wars or whatever it is, it's so many people that love it and so many people that hate it, and it's just conversations over conversations over conversations about every little detail and minutia about the whole franchise, and it's like I don't have enough time in the day. Like,
Same.
it's like I love Star Wars, and but I'm going to go see the movie and enjoy it, and maybe I'll talk about it with my friends. But talk about it online, it could go on for weeks. Back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. I understand that kind of like that fan zeal, but it's like at some point, it's like you can either continue to complain about it, or you can just make something and just make it the way you want to make it. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's
exactly.
like there's a lot of people that are in their armchairs, kind of like up in arms over like, oh well, I hate this Star Wars film, da 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 da. But it's like, all right, well, why don't you make the next coolest thing? And most people, when you call them out on it, they're not able to do it, but they like to complain. So
Yeah, it's funny. I come from a what I consider a very creative family. It's like my father. He drew. He was able to draw. He was just like born with the talent.
hmm
And I have three older brothers, and then there's me, and we all had some sort of artistic capability from birth. My mother, on the other hand, was like the opposite. She had no artistic ability, but she was very creative. Like I think every mom is to some extent,
hmm
uh, because it's the little things that she would do um, to just like have fun with us when we were really really young. I remember um, she wanted to do a little picnic out in our backyard out in Brooklyn uh, when we were really young, and she just stacked a couple of tires and put a big board over them and just set up like a whole lunch spread for us. And I distinctly remember that because it was like, oh, this is so different. It's not our kitchen table. It's not our living room table. We're eating outside and just like it was sunny and fresh air, and it was different, and it was really. I always remember it was like, oh, that's so creative. It's like the simplest thing, but
in my house, it's like, like my parents both didn't really do anything creative in that way, so it was just kind of they kind of I guess humored me because coming from India, they being an artist is not really a profession that a lot of people get into. It's kind of actively discouraged because of like the societal norms and stuff over there. So I mean, I guess they entertain the idea that, oh, he's staying out of trouble and he's just drawing, so that's okay. But the idea of making it a viable career is something that a lot of parents are like, oh my god, it's like my kid's going to starve being an artist. And I had to kind of fight that mindset quite a bit because actually my background is actually in engineering, and I studied electrical engineering, and I went to school for it, and I did the engineering stuff for both bachelor's and master's, but it wasn't really a thing that, I mean, I could do it, but I didn't really, my heart wasn't in it. And just kind of, did that to satisfy other people. But, I think if you really like doing something and you put the effort into it, you can make your own success.
yeah, definitely. Um, I do come from a family where my parents were old school, and they wanted my parents wanted me and all my brothers to be like either doctors or lawyers.
hmm
Although it's like I didn't meet a doctor or a lawyer, so I didn't have anyone to look up to and be influenced by.
Right.
So it was like sort of like well, you want me to be that, but you're not showing me what that is like,
Yeah, like abstract, right?
and, yeah, it was very abstract, and it's like I'm a visual person. It's like, I remember like my father a lot of times, he kind of sort of introduced us to comics. He brought home newspapers all the time, and there were strips in it, and you'd say, "Hey, go read the comics," and then later we got older. Me and Jimmy went to comic book conventions that he took us to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, yeah, comics are great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but I did meet your brother several years ago. He was giving us a speech at the Safety Harbor Public Library, and I was invited to also, like talk about, making a profession out of being an artist and stuff. And it was really cool. That was the first time that I met him, and I saw Amanda there, and they were both so sweet and so awesome and so encouraging. And I had my little PC Weenies books there, and Amanda got a copy, and I'm like, wow, it's like, this is so cool. It's like, I can't believe you want to buy my stuff. But then I invited Jimmy to go ahead and speak at our college, and he came over, and he did a great presentation, and students still talk about that whole thing. So it's been a couple of years, but I've always enjoyed speaking with him, and I know that he lives in my area. Like, I live in Tampa, and I know that he lives very close to where I live. So,
Oh, you live in Tampa?
Yeah.
I live in Brandon, Florida.
Oh wow, yeah, wow, crazy. Yeah, so right down the road from me, man.
Yeah.
Yes. So like, Jimmy and Amanda, it's like, I've heard from so many people that met my brother that, oh, he's a great guy, and yeah, I know. It's like, I grew up with him.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. Like, Amanda's a sweetheart, and I will mention, like, right now, Jimmy's on another YouTube channel, talking about his newest Kickstarter. I believe he's doing maybe another Painkiller Jane collection or something.
Oh, cool.
I'll get the information and talk about it at some point. But all you have to do is type in Kickstarter and Jimmy Palmiotti. He's done 8 or 9 already, and I believe everyone's been successful. So
that's great.
Yeah. So but yeah, it's like everybody who's run into him tells me it's like, how cool he is, and yeah, he's really easy.
He's a class act.
Definitely. And it's funny. I was watching something about Birds of Prey, which is the new Harley Quinn movie that they just finished filming, and talking about, oh, it is, Jimmy and Amanda's Harley Quinn, and how the movie is similar to it a little bit, and yada yada yada. It's just funny. It's like, I've gone my own way. I don't try to take advantage of since he's a much bigger name in the industry than I am. But enough people know who I am, and
yeah,
I made my own way. But it's great to have, people in the family doing the same thing.
Yeah, see, it's nice because you got at least someone who shares a common interest. And growing up, man, it's like, I really didn't know a whole heck of a lot of people that were into the same stuff that I was. I felt like I was the only kid in my high school that went to a comic shop, picked up comics. I mean, I've been reading comics since I was 5, but it just seemed like that wasn't a thing that I saw a lot of people do. And it just kind of, only when I went to my first convention back in the late 80s, did I start to realize that there's like, this is my tribe, this is like, I found my people, you know, and
Yeah.
it kind of changed my entire worldview. So.
I will mention we got a couple of people in the chat. We got Abe.
Oh, cool.
We got Squashy Inc., who is Wes. They're both saying Wahoo and what's up, y'all? And Joseph Hergartin. I'm so bad at names. Who says hello, everyone? We got a bunch of people watching. If you have any questions or you want to just put like input on what we're talking about, please type it into the chat and we'll get to it for sure. But so other than newspaper strips, which were really big when I was young, I just turned 56, so that's years and years ago. I really came into contact with comic books when I would get my haircut. The local barber had comics, for kids to read. He had magazines for the older people, but like Richie Rich and Archie, that sort of thing were the first comics I saw, and I probably didn't read them. I remember distinctly, like, I loved the artwork of comic books and was so amazed by all the characters in them and just like the illustration, that I think the first couple of years I didn't read them. I was just like so enthralled with the artwork.
I didn't really I mean, like, when I first started reading comics, I didn't really pay attention to the artist, because most of the comics that I started reading as a kid were Gold Key and Whitman type comics, like a lot of funny animal stuff like Bugs Bunny, and that's really kind of like my gateway into comics. It was through being a huge Looney Tunes fan or a Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show fan, and that was kind of like a thing that my parents bought, like a 3-pack of comics back when you can get them at department stores. And I remember I saw a Roadrunner comic and I really wanted it, so they bought the 3-pack, and I mean, they were happy because I was like 5 and I was interested in reading, and it was like something that I wanted to read about, right? So I learned how to read through comics, and it's only when I became like I think 15 or 16, I started really starting to look at the credits on the comic books, like the Marvel and DC stuff. And I'm like, John Byrne was like one of the first artists that I'm like, wow, I really like this guy's stuff. It's really cool. And I started paying attention to the artists that were actually making the book.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, when I first fell in love with comics would have to be in, the late 80s, early 90s, when, starting to really look at cartoons, animation, and all that stuff. I mean, with my artwork and my comics, all my characters are like talking animals. So before comics even came in the picture, a big influence for me was Hanna-Barbera and all that, age of talking animals and Scooby-Doo. And then later on came, Batman, came Spider-Man, the X-Men cartoon series in the 90s.
Yep.
Just a really big influence. And as a kid, I would buy my comics not from a comic book store, but during the summertime, we would go to a water park, and at the water park on the way there would be a gas station, and at that gas station they would sell, a bunch of comic books. So I would just buy whatever they had, or, my parents would buy whatever was there at the time, and I would just read them, collect them, really look at how they did this and how they did that, and just, have fun trying to learn my own style and really grasping how people did different things from different perspectives.
I mean, comics are a great educational tool, right? It's like,
Exactly.
just looking at them just made me realize that it's like, what a great way to tell stories. And, even now I've been reading comics, since I was 5. So like 40 something years. Right. And
Mhm.
I still love it. I still get that same satisfaction and joy. And I go to the comic shop, a couple times during the month just because I got to get my fix. I love comics. I can't stop. It will probably be the thing that I do for the rest of my life. And I think, where else can you really find an enjoyment like that you can carry with you for a very long time? It's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, some people like golfing, and I like comics. So, I mean, that's my thing.
Yeah. It's like I knew, it's like I went to art school, and I consider myself self-taught, even, having gone to art school. Um, and I met a lot of people. It was really interesting for me because I'm close in age with Jimmy, and we were both really into comics, and both really into movies. Um, we had a lot of the same likes growing up. Uh, it was really interesting to go to art school and meet a whole other diverse set of people
Mm-hmm.
that were into a lot of the similar things, but like with different perspectives from it,
Mm-hmm.
with the material, and with their lives and all that, their backgrounds and stuff.
Did you
Um,
guys did you guys both go to the same college together, or?
we both went to High School of Art and Design, which is in
Okay.
Manhattan, in New York.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I mean, essentially, we went to the same college. He finished 4 years. I only went for 2 years.
Okay.
Um, it's kind of like, for me, art. Even though I went to art school, is like it was still a sacred thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't convinced I wanted to do it for a living. Um, at the same time, because of the timing, um, I got into both computers and writing,
Okay.
um, and I sort of, like, separated from comics for a while. Like, there would be years like that, I stayed away from comics. Um, Not that I didn't love them, I just like engulfed myself in other interests.
Sure.
Um, but I was always drawn back into the world, and I did get a 9 to 5 essentially for about 10 years before I decided, I wanted to do comics for a living.
Mm. Yeah, it's like we all find our own paths back to it. It's crazy, and now with the so many different avenues, like with social media and things like that, it's like people have made it into very viable professions, like with their Patreon pages and with their YouTube videos. It's like, I think that's the coolest thing about this whole thing. It's like it really democratizes art in a way that it wasn't, because I'm sure you guys remember like going to libraries and stuff, and maybe even looking for books on art or comics or how to draw comics. It's like, when I would go to the library, comics were terribly frowned upon, and
Mhm.
and so you couldn't find comics at the library. You might find maybe an Asterix or a Tintin comic, but
Right.
you
Yeah.
really, and then that was probably going to be in French too, right? So it's like, I didn't read French, but I look at the pictures. Um, but it's only now within the past 20 years that I'm starting to see libraries carry graphic novels. Like, comics have been legitimized. Like, you can go to the library and get comic books, or not comic books, but graphic novels and stuff. And that's so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially like, with the huge Marvel franchise, a lot more people are aware of comics and comic book characters, and that, you know the whole hobby of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because comics have been through the mill, Like, there was the whole excess in the 80s and 90s, like, where comics were selling millions of copies, and everybody buying 10 copies of issue number one
Yeah.
of different things, especially like X-Men at the time,
Hmm.
Spider-Man. um, then it sort of blew up in its face, and it goes through phases, and everything ebbs and flows. um, but it's a little more respected now. um, I would say the government still laughs in like, if you're doing any sort of art career, they'll laugh in your face sooner or later. you
Hmm.
know, as far as respectability,
Oh, of course.
it's like, yeah, you're not earning a living. You don't get a weekly paycheck. You don't really exist.
I think most people that I've run into that are not artists are very dismissive. They're like, how can you make money with this?
Yeah,
And it's like, well, have you looked around everywhere and seen it? Have you gone to the movies? Have you gone to a concert? Have you gone to the store? It's like everything around you is like design and art. Everything. It's the thing that is ubiquitous everywhere. Like you're driving by a gas station, you see the logo. Some designer had to create that.
Hmm.
You're picking up a box of cereal, like kid cereal or whatever. It's like someone designed that. It's I hate the dismissive attitude that comes from some people where it's like, oh, it's like I don't see how anyone can make a living on that. It's like if it weren't for art, the world would be so boring,
Yeah.
and the advertisers wouldn't be able to sell anything. You know what I mean? So it's such a intertwined type of thing.
yeah, definitely. You know, even when I was in grade school, I remember taking a trip to Wall Street, and one of the buildings there, I don't remember if it was like an advertising company in Wall Street area, or what. But I
Hmm.
remember going into the building with my class and sort of entering a little small theater room, and we sat down and watched commercials. It was the weirdest thing, but I distinctly remember it. It's like I've always loved commercials and advertising. Um, it's not something I wanted to pursue myself, but was I just find it fascinating,
Mm.
and still do. Um, you trying to sell something, and especially like, if you're an artist, you're like a one man or woman company.
Yeah.
You know, you
Hmm.
you are trying to sell your work, sell your ideas, and it all comes down to story. And so yeah, like commercials, man, it's like there's real money in commercials if you want to get into that field.
I didn't even know as a kid like there were even jobs in that. It's like that never even crossed my mind because again, it's like you were saying earlier. It's like I didn't have any person that I knew that was in a design field that could be like a role model. I mean, I had art
Yeah,
teachers that were in elementary school and middle school and stuff like that, but nobody that was actually like, "Hey, I design for a living, and this is what being a designer looks like." If I had that knowledge, I think it would have been really informative, and it would have definitely crystallized the interest for design at a much earlier age. But because I didn't get it until much later on, I feel like I kind of missed out. You know.
yeah,
I mean, now it's like you've got YouTube and you've got all these. I mean, now there's so much more transparency about like what people do for a living, and like you have all these documentaries and these behind the scenes videos of stuff. I think that to be a kid nowadays, I mean, or to be someone who's like a teenager, it's kind of like a golden opportunity to really um, get a sense of what you want to do, right? You've got tutorials, you've got all sorts of so much information that if anything, you might get information overload, but at least you get to see what people actually do, and you can say, all right, that's what the day in the life of an animator is, or that's what a day in the life of a person that draws comics. I mean, like you got comics pros that are on YouTube that are talking about their work and sharing their process. I mean, I would have killed for that as a kid. I honestly,
Most definitely. Like, how do you do this? How do you do it good?
I didn't know a single soul that did it, you know, and it was kind of like black magic. It was just like, wow, it's like, I hope I can learn, you know, and I started looking at art schools back then, you know, even when I was really young, and it was just like so expensive. And I'm like, um, you know, so there was never like a clear understanding of like what I was getting myself into. And I think a lot of young artists from our era kind of maybe felt that way. It's like the information wasn't even out there.
Yeah. I know like why I was drawn to YouTube initially comes from when I was younger and there was like access cable,
Mm-hmm.
and they would just like random people you didn't know would show up and do a show. It would be a talk show, or they'd be talking about a book they read, or there was like uh, a lot of YouTube is about vlogging, and it would be like just random people talking about their lives and what they're going through or whatever. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, that's really cool. There's something very special about that, and it makes you like involved with the people and want to go back and see more. Um and that's what a lot of YouTube was initially, from my perspective. And yeah, as soon as I saw artists pop up on it, I was hooked.
Yeah. It's like there are people that do the same type of thing. That's pretty awesome, you know. We live in a good era in terms of like information being available and being, you know, like if you're interested in stuff, you can find it. Like my daughter's really into like looms and stuff like that, like loom braiding and stuff. And
Right.
she'll sit there and watch these videos, and she makes these little amazing little loom based characters just by watching the videos. I'm like, that is so cool. It's like you taught yourself a skill by watching someone else doing it on YouTube. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to learn anything, you can go on YouTube and just like type it into the
Yeah.
search, and how do
And
I
there's
do
like,
this? It's how do I fix the tire?
yeah, and there's not even like one video. You're gonna find like at least 10 or 15 on any given subject, maybe even more. So I, I think that's pretty awesome, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just have,
exactly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
you just have to filter it. Like
Yeah, true.
n- know what you're looking for. Seek out the best information source. Because you could waste your time easily.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It can be like an endless rabbit hole too, for sure.
I mean, YouTube is pretty great in that sense, because going back to learning how to draw and everything, going to the library, I really didn't get a lot of books on how to do that. I actually had to wait around for the local, what is it, the book fair, where you would have that bus driving by different schools around
Mhm.
certain times of the year. And in that bus, you were able to buy different books. So in the bus, I would always pick up how to draw Greek gods, or how to draw this, or how to draw that. So I would buy books that would just teach you how to draw these different, like, mythical, any type of characters that you were looking for.
That's cool.
And now YouTube, you could pretty much, learn how to do everything better instead of waiting around forever to pay for it, and you pretty much get it for free now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you wanted any kind of instruction, you would have to go out and actually, you know, like my mom in fifth grade, I remember she brought my art teacher home like once a week. I would get art lessons, and it wasn't like what I was interested in, which was cartooning, but it was like
Hmm.
how to draw type things. And I think we did that for like 2 or 3 times, and I'm just like, this is not what I want to do, mom. I want a cartoon. I want to make comics, you know, and but you had to pay. So I think her fee back then was like $10 for like an hour or something. And um, so she tried, you know, to put me in front of those people. But I guess I just lived in the places where people just make art, or make comics or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, it wasn't that much available in the library, and the library was a source of information.
Mm-hmm.
It's like mostly I would see like great books of photography,
True.
which is definitely helpful, but not a lot in the comic department, definitely. But just overall art, there'd be a couple of like really cheap. This is how to draw a dog and a tree.
Do you remember the Lee Ames books, like those books that you would be able to kind of walk through step by step?
Yeah.
He was like the first author that I really started to remember, because he would have like, how do you draw, like 50 famous cartoon characters, and how to draw vehicles. And I would sit there and try to follow along, and mine would just never end up. Like I would end up tracing the last finished drawing because I got so frustrated trying to do it his way. But now if I look at it now, it's like those books are actually well written. I just, or they're really instructional, but he kind of really made it, instead of drawing through the shape, he would just draw like little segments, It was more of like a, hey, follow me step by step, as opposed to, this is how you have to think when you're actually drawing this vehicle, for example. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at what you're working on. I know you didn't have anything planned, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks
Krishna.
really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is like how I chill, guys. Just like, painting backgrounds is like a little vacation without having to spend money. So I'm gonna make another one here too. I'm just saving this one out, but I paint in this style because it's just very simple and it's very calming for me. So and I'm very heavily influenced by those old Warner Brothers cartoons. I mean, definitely a huge fan of like Maurice Noble. He's like one of the big background artists, and I have his book too. It's what's called The Noble Way or something like that. He's passed on, but he made a book, and he would teach people how to draw backgrounds for animation, and that's kind of like a big inspiration for me.
That's definitely what it reminds me of. I mean, it's like I looked at tons of your pitches on Instagram, and it all has a very, speaking of my comic character, retro feel to it. And it's just, it's also like relaxing to see that kind of art, it's not in your face, it's not, controversial or whatever. It's just
it's like devoid of like, it makes you maybe feel relaxed, or makes you just kind of like, it's like when you read a storybook, you kind of just jump into the picture, right, and kind of like lose yourself in a little world. That's what these type of landscape paintings represent for me. It's kind of, I use this as like my power down time in the evening, and just like if I get time to draw for myself or paint for myself, I can get lost in doing something like this. And I also like it because I can see the results fairly quickly, because I've got a very short attention span when it comes to, like, I can't work on one piece for like 8 weeks, let alone 5 days. I get super antsy about it, and that's just me. It's like I have to. As a kid, I remember working on a pen and ink piece, and I would literally stay up until the morning finishing it out because I wanted to see it finished. And I was that kind of kid. So it's like, I can't do that. I can't sustain that now. So I just try to make it simple for myself. But I'm using like Photoshop, and I'm using this a combination of these lasso tools, and I'm painting with that using shape. And those are some of the videos that I want to start making on YouTube if there's any interest, just like how do you kind of paint in this style, even if you feel like you can't draw. I want to make it very accessible for people. So
I think you'd find a large audience. that would be interested.
Cool.
You know.
I definitely want to do something along those lines for sure.
Now you said, I'm not too much into the Instagram video world that's going on.
Right.
It's like I like looking at the pictures, but you do some videos on there.
I do,
Like,
but the videos are 30 seconds. So I'll either, because like now with Instagram's algorithms, people don't really get a chance to really see their list sequentially, which I think sucks.
Yeah,
I really wish
exactly.
that I could see my feed without any kind of algorithm interfering in what I want to look at, because now it just shows you the most popular things, and I want to see everything. I don't want to just see the popular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
that's my big frustration with the whole thing. It's like so I make these videos and they're kind of like more like, hey, this is what I'm working on right now, and they're super duper short. Sometimes I just kind of goof off on them and just do something funny, but it's just kind of like testing the waters again to make sure that I'm good for this video thing. It's like a way to
gotcha.
take baby steps,
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I have tossed up videos on there, but I don't think I did any art related videos on there. It's mostly like, hey, this is my cat's outside.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and that's really, it's kind of like a Snapchat type of thing where it's very, very quick, and it's not meant to be like YouTube where you're trying to sustain a huge audience with it. So
yeah,
that's why I don't take it super duper seriously. I just have fun with it, honestly.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But it's like, as far as the internet goes and different sites we're on, algorithm, rules everything, and it's essentially like, we you can't you can build your audience on any one of the sites and make it really huge, but like, there's always a factor of like, I know a lot of my audience that winds up on Instagram or YouTube or whatever has followed me throughout the years, because I was working on this comic or another comic, and it's like they just track me down, and I've met a lot of new people, and it's my interacting with others that grows my audience essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find that to be the case too. It's like, I think if you just take an interest in what other people are doing on Instagram, it's a good way to kind of build a little community. Where like, there are certain artists that I follow, and I'm like, I want to just leave a comment, even if no one else leaves a comment, just because I want to say, hey, I like what you're doing here, or I want to just see more of what you're doing. And I think that really helps, because people kind of like, it's, what are we all doing? We're just posting stuff on a social media site, and it's, people are very fickle, and they kind of just move past it. They just swipe up and they keep moving along. I think people are really craving for that kind of way of interacting and just, connecting with others, because that's really the whole point of this stuff, right? It's to say, hey, I like what you're doing, and I also do that stuff too, and let's just dig this art.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely into like appreciating other artists, and just uh yeah, following them along through their progression. Maybe they're trying new things, different styles, or maybe they're just doing the same thing over and over for 30 years, and just like, it's like I'm fascinated by art, period.
Yeah, I mean, and my range, I mean, I'll follow people on Instagram that are not making art, that are doing other cool things, just because it just expands my, um, my interest. Like, I love cars
Yeah,
and I love muscle cars, and I follow a lot of people on Instagram that restore cars. And I'm not mechanically inclined to save my life, but I can certainly appreciate it, because it's kind of like an art too, just to take an old junker and then breathe new life into it. I have such admiration for these folks that can do that. So um, And that kind of informs a lot of my hot rod art because I love drawing muscle cars. I love drawing that stuff. And um, it's funny because as a kid, my first love was cars. I mean, I was a huge Matchbox, Hot Wheels kid, and I loved cars. Cars were like, it was cartoons and cars that I like kind of defined me as a kid. And those loves still kind of hold true today, which is kind of interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of kids were into cars, you know, when they're young, because yeah, they're all toys around cars.
Yeah.
I had a bunch myself, and you know, it's like I wasn't big on toys growing up. I mean, we had board games, we had, I don't know, sticks in a box or something.
Mhm.
We had weird stuff, models, puzzles. I was into puzzles.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, little cars with the tracks, and you know, have them around the house and stuff. A lot of fun. I'm definitely not a car guy. I don't even have my license. You know,
Mhm.
I'm from New York. You know, it's like I grew up where it was just cheaper to
To
take
walk
all the
around, right?
transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk around is like what I mostly did. But there's trains, there's buses, there's taxis, there's car service, there's, you know, everything was available. Um,
I would like that, you know, down here. It's like in Tampa, it's like everything. You need a car if you live in Tampa because there's no easy way around town at all. Like without it, you're just pretty much you're at the mercy of public transportation, which down here, it's totally not like New York.
Hmm.
yeah.
Like there's nothing that runs on time. It's you know, it's just a big hot mess.
But there's many reasons why I'm not living down there. I could, because all my older brothers are pretty much in Florida,
Yeah.
um, and I'm in Kentucky. You know, Kentucky isn't like, you know, you do need a car to get around, but I can get around town easily. You know, just by walking places. Um, but yeah, definitely to like go anywhere outside of town, you need a car. Um, to do anything really fun, since it's a small town, there's not much here. As
Hmm.
far as entertainment, there's one theater, and you know, Main Street is nothing. There's more people at Walmart on a regular basis than Main Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have a good sized Walmart, and you know, you can pretty much see more people in town there than anywhere else.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think being able to hit the roads and kind of like walk to and from, you get a chance to meet so many interesting people. You can bring your sketchbook and you can sit there and draw on the train. You know, my biggest thing with Tampa is I hate driving in this traffic. It sucks, and I get really super stressed out when I drive. Um, I don't miss, you know, like if someone else were to take the wheel, I'd be okay with that. Um, because driving just gets on my nerves.
Mm. Yeah, um, Jimmy's not, you know, like back when we were all in New York. Jimmy wasn't a very happy driver all the time because there's a lot of idiots on the road,
Oh
as we
yeah,
know. Especially in, you know, New York, it's just like insane, like during rush hour and whatnot. Um, I'm sure he's much more comfortable out there.
Well, I
Um,
don't know because Florida actually, well, for drivers it hasn't, but Florida actually has been getting like one of the states where it has more pedestrian deaths just because of how dangerous a lot of the drivers are down here.
oh yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't been there much, but you know, I do hopefully plan to go see my family this year. So I'll keep off the roads.
Yeah, if you ever swing by and you get time, just you know, look me up, man. You know.
Will do. Yeah, I want. I want to shoot for MegaCon.
Oh, that's right.
Like MegaCon happens twice a year, and I was thinking of coming out in May. I forget. It's Tampa and
Well,
somewhere else.
there's
Orlando.
there's the Tampa Bay Comic Con, which is a different
August.
animal. Yeah, and that's on August, and then MegaCon is in May.
Yeah.
I used to go to MegaCon all the time, and now my big hesitation is that it's just gotten so big, and
Yeah.
just like navigating around that. And these shows aren't comic shows anymore. They used to be about comics, and now you'd be lucky if you see even like one dealer. So when I go there, I just go to kibitz with my pals and just see what some independent artists are working on. Just it's more socializing for me than it is really anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's for me. It's like a lot of times when I go to, hey, Dr. Mara is here. Conventions. That I'm like attending and have a table at. Half the time I'm popping up and running around because I want to go see all my friends or artists I haven't met yet, or I'm bad like that. It's like I got jump. What is it, Mexican jumping beans in my pockets or something? I gotta run around.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you,
It's
because it's like that everyone is there, and it makes the most sense to be able to. I mean, that's your opportunity to see everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we get a chance to do very often because we're usually, stuck in front of our, computers or whatever. So for me, it's like a social outlet,
Yeah, definitely.
And that's pretty much what it is. I mean, as an artist, all of us, if we really want to sell anything, we really have to build friendships and connections.
Yep, absolutely right.
It's one of those things that, are you more willing to buy something from a stranger, or are you willing to buy something from someone that you have a connection with? Like if with Comic-Con, if it's like, hey, I really like your Star Wars shirt or something, and like start talking about the last movie or whatnot, they'll be like, hey, what do you got going on here? And then they'll be more interested into your work. So it's really building that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take much. I know, like, I'm usually always like fan first.
Yeah.
And I've been to enough conventions and met enough artists and writers and whatnot. It's like, even just like a simple handshake, hello, and like checking out their work and they're not being pushy.
Yes.
Is such a great experience that it really lasts for years. And like, if I see their work in the store, it's like, oh, I gotta pick this up. I met this guy or I met this girl.
Yeah, you form a connection. It's like, I think you buy from people that you like. That's what I've realized. It's like people, like when I would table at conventions and things like that, I would find out that the people that had a favorable interaction with me, that just talk, and I don't want to do a hard sell, and I don't do hard sells. I'm just like, hey, they'd take a look, and I'd say, hey, if you want, you can take a look at it, and then some of them would ask questions, and then invariably we get into talking about something about the show, and then before I know it, they're walking out with a comic, or they're walking out with a poster or a print, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they're buying it based upon that interaction. They're like, that guy was pretty interesting and pretty friendly and whatever. And he wasn't like trying to sell me on, because like there's always that guy at the convention that's like, hey kids, comics. Don't you like comics? It's like, oh my God. It's like, what can I do to get you in this book?
Yeah, he's opening up his trench coat. I
Yeah.
got comics for 5 cents.
Yeah, it's like, what can I do to get you in this comic? Like it's a used car salesman. I'm like, please, come on, man. And then there's like
You know,
that desperation where they're just like, you know, please buy this. And it's like, no one wants to do that. No one wants to like buy because you feel sorry for somebody. You want to buy because you're like, I dig this work. It's cool.
yeah, you sort of slink past their table. It's like, I don't really see you, and I was here for a reason.
Yeah. Or, you just try to like avoid eye contact. It's kind of like, like when I'm at
Yeah.
or whatever, and there's people trying to sell solar powered energy or whatever. It's like, you can tell they got this like super hungry look on their face. They want to talk to you about solar power. And I'm like, I just don't want to get in that conversation right now. I can't afford to buy solar power right now. It's like, you're not selling to
So
me.
we had a new person show up on the Hangout.
Hey, new person.
Hey guys.
Hey,
What's
True.
up?
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry I was late.
Welcome. Oh, no sweat. Introduce yourself. Tell us, tell people where they can find you and your work.
Yeah. So I'm True Murry. I've been working on the second anthology for the 100s. You can mostly find me on Instagram. I'm going to be starting up a YouTube channel here soon, so there's that as well. So
Awesome. We talking about Krishna joining the YouTube gang.
Yes.
right on.
It's definitely a great way for artists to get their work seen and out there, and tell their story essentially.
I'd say even more so than just blogging. I think everyone just goes to YouTube right away. That's kind of like the default gateway.
Right. It's like the new thing.
Yeah. I don't see, there used to be a time like in the early 2000s where it was all about like your blog and what you put on your blog. But I think social media is kind of that's kind of like now the kind of gateway to get into your blog and your YouTube channel and things like that. And the blog plays an important role, but it's not as important as like watching a video or something.
Right. And it's more interactive too.
Yeah, for sure.
Get to interact more with
Yeah,
the audience.
Definitely. It's like I love the concept of a blog, and I still have one, but essentially I'm sharing my YouTube videos there because it's like I've had it for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to push it out to my audience essentially. But yeah, much like everything else, it's like I tried to make great posts there in the past, and like spent a day or two on like really defining a blog that I was excited about, and put it up there, and nobody read it, and it's like after a while it's like
It's hard for people to come to like, and that's the thing. I think most people just prefer to consume it through a video. It's like it's quick, it's immediate, and then if they like the video, then they're going to check out the other stuff.
Well, video is even more engaging because you see the person and actually get a sense of who they are really through the video, while with the blog is like, okay, I don't know really what type of person you are, because sometimes when you're watching a video and hearing a person, you could kind of hear their emotions in a sense, if you know what I mean.
Yep, absolutely.
For sure.
You can read them better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've got to dip my toes in.
Yeah, with a blog, it's like it's so engineered. I mean, like a lot of people on Instagram, it's like that do posts that are staged, and they have their artwork in the forest, and the lighting's correct, and it's like they really go out of their way, and it's gorgeous. But like blogs were like, you know, so much work goes into them, because you're trying to whittle down an idea or a concept and put it into words and maybe have some pitches with it. I don't know. It social posts are always, you know,
They're more heavily curated. They're more. It's kind of like
Yeah.
music. It's like blogs are like punk rock, and now social media is more like top 40. So that's pretty much the way
there you go.
So it's like your top hits, and everyone wants to just make a greatest hits for every single post. And I kind of miss the whole idea of just being raw, you know, just like putting stuff out there that may not be great, but it's like it invites conversation.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting way to think
It's
about it.
definitely work. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I've recently been looking into Patreon a bit, and I've started it up and whatnot, and that definitely feels a lot more like a blog or like a personal website than it actually is like personal.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yep, I agree.
So
Yeah.
It's kind of like a blog meets paywall kind of.
yeah, exactly.
Of looking at it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been on there since, I would say, almost the beginning, and I don't think I've got it right at any point.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had people come and go. I had, you know, I have a number of regulars that are still around. You know, I must have pulled in, you know, I guess like my full take of it since I started it has been over $1,000, you know. So it's definitely been worth doing. But it's like I changed it so many times that like I know my audience is confused by what the hell I'm doing there.
Do you provide
But you know,
do you provide any rewards, Peter, like for like your Patreon feed? Like,
I was intending to, you know, it's sort of like um since I've been on there, I've been exploring what it means to have a patron page.
okay,
And I think right now I'm of the mindset that I'm just going to do a simple setup. Essentially, you know, I'm going to do a web comic for my patrons. How I mostly seen Patreon is, well, if you like my work, just support me on Patreon. You know, because I say a lot of times, like in my videos and even the Hangouts, like, you know, if you like the show, then support me on Patreon, because the work that gets put into doing these videos is, you know, supported by that.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have like any
So-
exclusive videos that you put on Patreon that you don't have anywhere else? Like,
Yeah,
exclusive stuff?
I have done that, but I don't. That's the thing. It's like, in the end, I'm exposing myself fully over here.
Mhm.
So anything I said over there isn't really like something you haven't already heard here.
Gotcha.
You know, and it's like it's hard for me to hold my tongue. So it's like I'm never going to do anything super secret. You know, it's like but if I just stick to working on one specific webcomic over there, then that's something that will be exclusively there, and I could deal with that.
It's interesting. I've been playing around with doing kind of early access to my comic.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
Yeah.
my patrons get comic pages as I complete then, where like when I'm posting them online, I do it like once or twice a week. And
Cool.
although I haven't seen like a whole lot of success, I've only had it for like a month or two. So
It's like it takes a while to build, you know.
Yeah,
It's like slow boil.
for sure.
yeah, definitely. You know, because people got to get used to what you're doing, how you're doing it, you know,
Mhm.
how you're putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's another place to go. It's like if they know you on Instagram, you know, it's a whole effort to get them to go somewhere else and explore that.
Yeah, I've definitely found that people don't like doing extra things for stuff. So trying to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And plus, it's like it's time out of your day too. It's like you have to, if you're actively doing that, you're either doing it full time, right? So it's like a job.
Right.
But most of us have like other gigs where we're doing other things. So it's like it's hard to just create exclusively for that audience. For me, what I do, I will give my Patreon readers high resolution images of the work that I create on my social media channels. So it's like, you know, you want a 5,000 pixel by 5,000 pixel wallpaper, desktop wallpaper or something, then here you go. And I found that that's been pretty good. At least nobody's complained about it. I think people are all right with that. So, that's kind of like my carrot. It's like, okay, you want to put this on your computer, on your phone, you can do that.
Have you had a lot of engagement on your page?
Not so much. I mean, like, but
Your
I mean,
experience?
I've had supporters come and go just like you, but I don't really get a lot of people posting. I know people download stuff and I see people do that, but maybe it's just a function of me not making it so interactive. Like I'm going there just to post new stuff, but I'm not necessarily,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think of this? And because first of all, it's like I don't want to be like in an echo chamber, but second of all, I'm just not sure if people go there to read or if they just go there to get stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, if they ask a question, then of course I'll jump in and I'll answer it. But I think most people will ask that question when they see my work on like Instagram or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard
Yeah.
to like a separate conversation, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's like I noticed like when I was doing much better on my Patreon page that, you know, it was kind of more interactive there, but it's like it's an extra chore for people to go there and then be interactive there and for me to do the same. You know, it's like it's definitely helpful in my career to have my patron page there. You know, at the very least, pays my coffees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's added work, and I'm constantly exploring like what I'm doing on Facebook and what I'm doing on Instagram and what I'm doing on YouTube. So it's just an additional thing to sort of keep track of and what's the evolution that happening there right now. And
Yeah, I think Patreon is kind of like the way message boards were for the most part. You know, like after social media came on the scene,
right.
you don't really see too many people unless it's like something like Reddit or whatever. You don't really see a whole heck of a lot of people flocking to a new message board. And I think that's where Patreon is kind of like, it feels like that to me a little bit.
Well, I mean, you know, I do follow a lot of people on there that, you know, I would say are highly effective there. And it is a lot more communication going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I'm one person. I only have so much time in a regular day.
Right.
They're amazing. I don't know what the hell they're doing. You know.
So out of both of you doing it for a while, you would definitely say it's worth to give Patreon a shot.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to pay anything. So that's, I think it's very conducive for, testing the waters, and, you can set it up and just see what the response is. You lose nothing by doing it. I think you have everything to gain.
Yeah,
I would think of it
it's
that.
definitely worth it. I mean, you're trying to make an art career, and that's like what it's set up for, is artists and music people and what have you, creative people.
Yeah.
And if you even if you have one fan, it's like a way for them to support you, because people feel foolish, like just randomly, I don't know, like
There's no tip
buying
jar on the
something from
internet.
you. If they don't, yeah, it isn't a tip jar. A lot of people use Patreon as a tip jar, kind of, sorta. And there are a lot of people doing it effectively, and where it's focused, and it's actually something that's like, I like your work, and your Patreon page, wow, you're doing awesome stuff there, that it's like, for digital artists, they give away digital brushes there, or PDFs of comics, or lots of cool stuff is happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a lot
Behind the scenes, yeah.
And I think that's the big challenge too, because it's like you have to put time into it, and there has to be enough interactivity, and it's difficult for one person to sustain that. It can be done, but it's difficult for the average person to do it, myself included.
Hmm. Definitely. So, well, we had a couple of people in the chat, and it seems like everybody's leaving.
Yeah, they were saying that a couple of people were going to come back. I think Squashy was saying that he had to head home because he was at work or something.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, does anyone in the chat
Cool.
have any questions? I mean, I can't see the chat, so I don't know. Like,
let's see. I'm not sure.
True Murry joined the group chat.
Yep.
Okay,
True's
cool.
here.
But I don't. What I'm getting at is I don't see anyone else. Like, I don't know if it's a chat window. This is my first time doing this, so. Is there like a chat for the artists that are in the hangout, and there's like a separate chat for people that are watching the hangout, or how does that work?
Well, the chat in the video that's live on YouTube, where people are watching this show. Yeah, I mean, True commented in there, Ronnie commented in there, but we had Doc and Mar, which is a fan of me and the show. She commented and how it goes. Squashy Egg, he commented and how it go. There's another person I never saw his name before, said hello, and he might still be watching. But I mean, there's a number of people watching. Not everybody comments.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because a lot of people are just, I don't like the name, but lurkers, just people watching and listening, and maybe they're working on their art, and just don't have time to comment.
Yeah, that's fine. It's like this is kind of cool because it's like working in a small studio, with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so, for sure.
Like that, Because normally it's so isolating, just working in my own house, and it's like I usually work after my girls go to sleep, so it's like, and I can't really talk to them about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, Dad or whatever. And my wife will be like, okay.
Yeah, I know throughout my day, it's like you know, a lot of times I would throw on a video at random and you know, follow along with what other people are up to. You know, learn some more artistic stuff or how people are doing different things. You know, even though like I haven't done much in myself, but I'm like I love people that like rebuild homes and whatnot. Maybe I'll turn on a Renault video or something. You know, just something completely different.
Yeah, I like watching videos like that. They're like it's like people talking, and you see progress being made, but
Yeah,
you don't have to necessarily be totally invested in it. You can. That's why I like watching car shows, like where they put a car back together again or something like that, because it's like you can see it when you want to see it, but then it's just like other people talking and doing cool stuff.
yeah.
So I know I was a little bit late, but what's everybody working on?
I'm just working
I
on digital painting.
Oh, right on.
I am working
I'm
on
just
my 100s.
go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm working on my 100s.
Yep.
Sweet.
And I'm just doodling.
Right on. Okay.
What are you working on?
Yeah, I got to get up. Yeah, what he's working on your comic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working on a one-shot comic that I started picking up after the 100s.
Mm.
So hopefully I'll have that done within the next couple of weeks so that I can get back to my main comic.
Nice. Were you all like when you came upon the 100-day challenge? Did you guys come about it through watching Kevin's videos, or like Kevin Cross, or did you just like find out about it some other way?
So I found out about it from Kevin and then everybody else who did it. And then my first challenge was last year around this time. So
Okay, gotcha.
I found mine through a friend of mine that I met through social media, Scott O'Green. He was doing the 100 days, and then I believe him and Peter talked a little bit, and that's how I was able to find Peter by talking through the chats. And after a while, I was like, you know what? With my second book, I'm going to join the 100, so why not?
Cool. I mean, that really took off. I know that Kevin did like several of those challenges, and he kind of like got a lot of people kind of following his lead, which is pretty awesome.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, it's like a lot of things. You know, there's been up and downs to the D100s group. You know, where it was highly active and then completely silent. You know, the Facebook group wasn't there initially, but that was made by this girl Krishna that was part of the challenge initially, and she actually got into other things, or life took over for a little while. Anyway, she passed the group on to me, and that was sort of during a lull. And I did everything in my power to keep it active and actually brought it back to life. And then, you know, almost like kind of recently, I passed it on to Mike Emmerich, who's now running the show over there. And it's never been more active.
That's cool. I think Facebook has kind of supplanted regular message boards and that's what I don't really go on Facebook a whole heck of a lot, but I do go for some of the comic groups that are on there. You know, like I follow, like there's like a Mike Zeck fan club, and there's like John Byrne fan club. And I use it as a way of kind of like finding other people that share similar interests, and less about, you know, like my timeline or whatever, you know?
Right. So everybody's quiet.
Zone.
So I guess we have been going at least an hour. I am going to check the chat. Oh, we have Van Illustrations Lurker here. So he spoke up. I guess because I do have a deadline that I'll be working all night on. If since we're not feverish into any particular conversation. I know, even though True just joined us, I think perhaps we should end this episode. Like I mentioned pretty much in the beginning, I'll be taking time off and probably won't pop up again until Monday. I definitely need to catch up on sleep.
I hear you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man. I just been going.
Well, with the topic, are you going to go digital?
Yes, eventually. Okay. I don't have the equipment to do it effectively today. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to change the titles to something else. Once I have a little sleep, I'll be able to think straight. But as always, like, all my guests are definitely welcome back on the show. And True, I definitely want to have you on for a whole episode.
That'd be nice.
But if we can, yeah. But if we can just go through all of you once again, starting with Krishna, tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, who's gonna, should I start or?
Yeah.
Okay. Krishna is my name, and you can find my work at krishnadraws.com, and on Instagram at Krishna Draws, Krishna.
And you'll have a YouTube channel in the future.
Yes, I will definitely do that. This year, it will happen.
Awesome. Excellent. Love to hear it. And we had Ronnie with us.
Hello. And you could find me at ronniegunter.com and on social media platforms, ronniegunter.art, and then on YouTube, Ronnie Gunter.
And even though he was with us briefly, True Murry is an amazingly talented artist. And you should definitely go check out his work. True, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at True Murry, and you can also find me on Patreon at True Murry as well.
Awesome. And you can find me everywhere, and all my links are a lot of them to the groups I'm a part of, like the D100s and Artcasters, a lot of comics. If I'm not currently working on, I'll be getting back to shortly, or all the links below the video. So go check them all out. Patreon, also my PayPal link if you want to send me $50,000, like I said earlier. I'm just putting that in, because I got to be a lousy salesman. I'm just having fun. Okay, everybody. It's been great having you on. Hope everybody watching has enjoyed the show. I'll be back next week after Easter holiday, so enjoy the holiday. Good night, everybody.
All right, good
night,
talking.
everybody.
Yeah, see you later.
See ya.